Hello, folks. I'm Wallace Gamble. I'm an old man, 88 years old, but I have some pictures here that I took with an 8mm camera and recently had transferred to video that I photographed during the late 1939 and early 1940s, when very few people lived on the Bull River or in the Knoxon area. One could legally snag the big bull trout, or another name for them was char trout, that ran up the Bull River and that came out of Ponderay Lake. The males in the spawning season would turn an orange or a reddish color when spawning season was on. They came up the Clark's Rock River, then up the Bull, and all the other larger streams that ran into Ponderay Lake. On the pictures of the snagging of the landlocked salmon called bluebacks, or another name is silvers, which are still in Ponderay Lake in lesser numbers. The spawning season generally started in around October. They came up in almost unbelievable numbers until the Ideal Fish and Game Department made the mistake of putting mystic shrimp in Ponderay Lake, and they competed for the food supply. And the silvers, and that was the silver's main source of these here small, the silvers lived on another food that was in the lake, and the mystic shrimp competed for that food and practically wiped the silvers out. I'm going to tell you a true story of how plentiful they were. One day, when they were running real good in the rapids, Clifford Weir and his wife and my wife went down to the rapids and snagged practically a full wash tub full of them. Took them back to the Weirs, cleaned them for getting ready for smoking, which they were delicious, smoked. And even though we had a wash tub full, I was working in Spokane, and I had to be back this Sunday afternoon, and it was rather late Sunday, so we headed for Spokane. But as we came by the entrance to the Heron Rapids, I asked my wife if she would like about 50 fresh ones to take back to give to some of our friends, and also to eat fried. So she said no more than 50, and so we went in, and being it was late in the evening, they were just coming through, and nobody else was down there, but there was one place behind a rock in the current where there was a rock that they were so thick that their fins were sticking out of the water about an inch. And I got them up three-pronged, weighted line on a pole I had, and threw out the other side and jerked through this mass of fish. And catching 50, which only took about 10 minutes, I never missed a cast. And I caught from 1, 2, or 3, and this is the hard part to believe, but on the three-pronged hook twice, and catching those fish, I jerked 4 fish out during that.
Clark's Fork, that's the Clark's Fork River. We used to go up to where the Bull River runs into the Clark's Fork and go up. Fishing and hunting was wonderful. This is before the Clark's Fork dam was put in, and the char and the bluebacks used to run up there by the gobs. We stopped along the road, my wife just taking a little drink from a beautiful little creek that came out of the hillside here. This is back in the years around 1939 or 40. Here's the Bull River that runs into Clark's Fork. It's near the town of Knoxon. And there used to be wonderful cutthroat fishing, and the char is like a big salmon that we used to. It was legal at that time to snag char in here. Certain season you could snag them. Here we're going to some friends of ours, Ed and Vera Watts. We have a folding boat carried on top of the car. We're going up this old road that is no more in operation. The bridge is gone. But at that time we took the boat out and we're going to go down this stream. And I'll show you later how we snag these big char out of we'd find holes, deep holes. The water was so clear that you could see them, and we had various little tricks that we could use to snag them. That's a little boat, but Ed and I are going down this stream. This is trying to find the holes where we could find a char. And see that big pole sticking out the nose of the boat? It's a scaled tamarack. You use a light telephone line for a line and a heavy three-pronged hook. Which you'll see a little bit better later. Big deep black hole below here where here I got out, but got loose and it hang up on the shallow spots, one here and there. We got to this big hole. We didn't happen to get any fish in this particular one, but later we'll show you one. Here's on down the stream a ways, and we stop and fish. Also, Ed had his light tackle out for nice cutthroat trout, which were good. But here I'm set here now. He's in the boat here. He's working, trying to run the char up over me. I've got this big nickel-plated triple hook laid out there that I can see, and if the fish runs over it, I come up with it and try to snag him, hit him anywhere. Which I will. You'll see here in a minute. Now I got it. He's on there. He's thrashing around in this deeper water. There he comes. Tire him out a little bit and get him over to the boat, and Ed will put him in the boat. Here's his wife Vera with one of them. They're bigger than this yet, but that's a nice fish. Now here's the outfits we homemade. That's the big hook. That's the tamarack pole with lightweight telephone wire, galvanized wire. Here I've got one on. I'm a different time bringing him in. Got the little white tips. There's something like a trout that we have that, as far as characteristics of looks. Here's my daughter Betty with this is a different time with one of the nicer fish we caught. We didn't have a limit in those days in Montana there, and you could snag them, which you cannot do, of course, anymore. And of course the dam stopped. They came out of Ponderay Lake and would run up the Clark's Fork River, clear to Missoula country. But they have no more. Here we are out in what they call the Big Eddy on a homemade raft of driftwood, and we would push it out to a certain spot and get set, and then throw rocks and run them over us, and we'd snag them there. It's quite a feat. The timing when they go speeding by to hook one of them. The Big Eddy was the biggest hole and deepest water in the entire Bull River. Quite a tussle just between you and the fish. Some of them fish could pull just about as strong as you could. You have to just... I had to put the pole down here on the board and get a hold of the wire and bring him in. No, he wasn't ready to be brought in yet there. This is a different one, a different time. This happened to be the biggest fish I ever caught in the Bull River. This weighed over 17 pounds. This is another trip where with Vera and Ed, we went down the river in that little homemade boat because the road didn't follow the river, and we wanted to find holes that these fish were in. Here we've caught a mess. We've got all we want for all of us here. We've got to carry him out to our car, which is a little ways by trail from this point. There was an old bridge there. Nice mess of fish. Here we are in our car with that boat on top, heading for home, sunset, back to Spokane. These friends of ours lived up there. What?